So this video is going to be about my mental health and what I've got and the struggles that I face and about borderline personality disorder / EUPD. So my story starts back in 2020. I'd say the beginning of 2020, and I just wasn't myself. I was feeling very sad, very low in my mood. I wasn't sleeping properly, and that wasn't me. I used to have a really good sleeping pattern. I would feel sad sometimes, but not to the extent that I was feeling at this time. So people around me started noticing that I wasn't my normal self, and I got involved with mental health services, and they did a few assessments. They'd come and see me, they'd sort of ask me how I'm feeling, and kind of what my symptoms were. And that went on from, I want to say, maybe March time. So from March to July 2020, I was being seen by mental health services, and they were just sort of seeing what was going on. And then in July 2020, I want to say, I then was diagnosed with something called EUPD / borderline personality disorder. And I am on medication for it. I am taking the medication for it. And I've been on that medication for, since 2020. I have struggled with this illness for the past 3 years. I have my good days, I have my bad days. When I was first diagnosed with it, I was having really bad days, I just really struggled, and there's been times where I've had to go to hospital, and I've had to go to a mental health hospital, and I've had to sit there and have them ask me all sorts of different questions, and they ask you kind of how you're feeling, kind of what. So with this sort of diagnosis, with borderline personality disorder, the common symptoms that you have, that I have been told that it's quite common, that I've been experiencing myself, is suicidal thoughts. I think that's quite a big one, and hallucinations and things like that. There was one point in 2021 where it got to the point where I was hearing voices and it was telling me to do things, and when you're having these symptoms and when you're having these things, you're not yourself, or at least I wasn't myself. And when I have my episodes, or when I have an episode, I really, really, really struggle, and I am not myself. I it's almost like somebody comes into me. That probably sounds very weird and very strange, but it's almost like I'm not myself. I leave my body and somebody else sort of takes over me. And yeah, it is hard because there has been two occasions where, well, not two, sorry, one. And I only last year I attempted suicide and I ended up in hospital for 3 weeks. And you might think, you know, is this not hard for you to talk about? No, because thinking back, it was a hard time of this illness, and I would say it was a relapse of what had gone on. And no, it's not hard for me to talk about. I want to do this video to try and help people and to try, say if somebody out there that's watching this has either just been diagnosed with it or feel that you might have symptoms of it, or you're getting these symptoms and you're looking them up and it's coming up as borderline personality disorder, my advice to you would be get the help. There is help out there. I'm not saying they will diagnose you. In my case, they did, because I was quite severe. My symptoms were quite severe. At one point, I was gonna be sectioned, and it was difficult, and I still have periods of feeling depressed and sad. I haven't had any suicidal thoughts since October last year. They've sort of gone, but I'm not saying that they won't come back. I'm not saying that I won't have another episode. I'm not saying that, you know, since October I'm magically better. I am still under mental health services, and I still have services out there that can, if I have a bad episode, are there to help me. And I just kind of wanted to do this video again to help somebody, and if you've got any questions for me, let me know in the comments down below, and I'll try and answer them as best as I can. But this is my personal experience on EUPD or borderline personality disorder. And yeah, I think the other things that I struggle with as well when I have my episodes is like things like tidying, cleaning, washing. You know, when you're depressed and when you have a depressed episode, it's hard to function. It's hard to, you just don't want to get out of bed. You don't want to eat. You don't want to drink. You don't want to get dressed. You know, you don't want to even have a bath. You know, there was a day where I was so bad that I literally only got out of bed to get a drink and to go to the toilet, basically. That was the only reasons I forced myself out of bed. Other than that, I stayed in bed. I barely ate that day. I even barely drank. I mean, you know, depression is a very difficult and very hard illness to deal with. And, you know, it's a sad illness to deal with as well, because when I have my episodes, I think things that, you know, maybe other people don't think about me. So I think that, you know, I'm not a very nice person. You know, again, it comes back to the suicidal thoughts, which I think, again, with depression, like I said, I'm not an expert, I'm just going on what my experience is. And yeah, borderline personality disorder, I mean, you can look it up. I mean, I've been told not to do that, but come on. Everybody seems to Google everything. As soon as you're told anything, the first thing you do is Google. And I did. I Googled it and I looked it up. And the more that I read kind of what the symptoms seem to be me. So impulsive behaviour is one of them. Not very good relationships is another. Again, suicidal thoughts is another. Like I said, by all means, look it up yourselves. But yeah, it is a hard illness to deal with, because you go through periods of, yes, being able to function, yes, eating and drinking, yes, having just a simple thing of having a shower. And I seem to be having more of them days where I'm good, I'm going out, I'm doing things, I'm getting a shower, I'm eating, I'm drinking, my house is tidy, and when I was in sort of the thick of it, none of that just seemed possible. It just seemed very, very hard and very, very impossible to do. And yeah, I mean, I had people tell me, try and have a bath, the advice you get given is, when you're having an episode, the advice you get given, or the advice I got given, is try and have a relaxing bath, try and watch a bit of TV, try and listen to some music, have a warm drink, stuff like that. And, you know, for me, they didn't work. And I did say that to the mental health team. I said, you know, they don't work. I mean, it's taken quite a while I think it's taken them quite a while for them to realise, actually, okay, they don't work. I'm not saying that I just never tried those things. I did. But it got to the point where it really didn't. And it was, again, back in October last year, that I was having a really bad episode, and it was almost like it was an urge, and it just wouldn't leave, it wouldn't go. It just, no matter what I did, no matter, you know, I would sit on my laptop, I would have the TV on in the background with my favourite programme on. I would try and think of other things. I would get a drink. You know, it didn't matter at that point what I did. It was like an urge that I had to do it. And I did. I ended up trying to commit suicide. And it ended up me being rushed into hospital, and I ended up being in hospital for 3 weeks. And in that 3 weeks, I just sat in hospital and I saw the mental health team within the hospital. I mean, again, whilst I was in hospital, they just didn't allow me to. At first, they didn't allow me off the ward on my own. I was not allowed, within that first week, I was not allowed off the ward on my own. I had to be with a healthcare assistant, and I had to walk with them. In a way, it was a normal hospital. It wasn't a mental health hospital. I wasn't sectioned or anything like that. But I see it as they treated it as I was sectioned, and I couldn't go to the toilet by myself. I couldn't have a shower by myself. And at one point, I think I was coming down, I was coming back to myself, but at one point I just couldn't even do anything myself, shower myself. I had to be showered because I was so tired and so just not myself that I had to have that done for me. And that was hard because I am quite an independent person. I can do things by myself. When I'm not having my episode, I can shower, I can bath, I can eat, I can drink, I'll go out to places. I live on my own, and I'm just doing this videos to try and help somebody and try and put my experience out there of this illness. And if any of you are maybe suffering from maybe the same symptoms, or think, that sounds like me, I would strongly suggest trying to get the help, speaking to family and friends, and really try and get the help, because I did get the help and I still have the help. I still have my mental health team, as I've said, and I'm getting so much better. It has taken me 3 years, almost 3 years, for me to come back to my normal self. I mean, I have been, I've adjusted things in my life. So for me, I've had a dishwasher put in for the days where, if I have an episode, I know that I don't have to think about washing up. I don't have to think about, cleaning. I can use the dishwasher. And I've had people say to me, that's a really good thing, because you know what's going to help you. You know what's going to make it easier for you if you have another episode, or when you have another episode. But the scariest thing about it is you don't know when your next episode's going to be, or if you are going to have another episode. I mean, like I said, I'm on medication and I've had a very big episode. And even in hospital, whilst I was on my medication, I had a really bad hallucination. I was convinced that somebody was coming after me. I could see that person, I could hear that person. It was really scary, it was really hard, but you do get over that. You do come through that. You do, you come through it at the other end and you think, wow, what happened there? And with my experience, I don't remember my episodes immediately afterwards. It takes me maybe a few days to maybe a week to 2 weeks to remember fully what happened within that episode. I really struggle with explaining myself. I think that's coming across on this video, that I'm really struggling to sort of explain it and sort of say, what I struggle with and how I deal with it. And yeah, I think this is something that I will now live with for the rest of my life. And I will probably be on medication for a very long time for it, and I will try. This isn't me, I am trying now, and I am, I have a job. It's not a case of you have this illness and you can't be the person you were before you got diagnosed with this illness. You can still be that person, but I've got a job. I had a job way before I was diagnosed with this illness. I was doing normal everyday things, but yeah, since being diagnosed with this illness, it does crush you when you first get diagnosed with it. I remember the day that I got diagnosed with it, it really crushed me, and it was like, it was a shock to the system, really, and it was a bit like, oh, because I didn't really think, I would be diagnosed with something. I didn't think that, to me, I just didn't think I had mental health problems. I didn't think I had a mental health illness. So when I got diagnosed with it back in July 2020, I remember that day, and I didn't expect them to diagnose me that very day. And they did. They said, oh, we think it's EUPD, or borderline personality disorder. And I was really shocked, and I remember sitting there in front of them and crying and just thinking, oh my goodness. It was hard to hear that actually, yes, I do have a mental health illness, and I'm not going to compare it to, say, another illness that you might get diagnosed with, but having a mental health illness is hard, and it can stop you from doing things, and it does stop you from doing things. Especially for me, it stopped me doing things whilst I've been having my episodes. There's been times where I've had episodes and I've not bathed or showered for a week. I mean, that is very, very, that's not me. I shower quite regularly, and I hardly ever go a week without having a shower. And I want to say that that's the illness that does that, and it's not all the depression. Depression is just a part of the illness. I'd say it's a big bracket of the illness. And yeah, not showering, not bathing, and not washing my hair for about a week, that's not me. And I still struggle with that. I mean, I'm still trying to get myself back into that routine of either bathing or showering, like normal, you know, and keeping my house tidy. I'm still struggling with that, even though I'm not having my episodes as often. It still impacted me long term, and I'm still struggling with these different things in my life. And I do strongly suggest, if you think, I mean, you definitely can't self-diagnose mental health problems, definitely can't. You do need to see a specialist for that. And it was very hard for me to sort of accept as well that I had a mental health problem. And it still to this day is quite hard for me to accept it. I mean, there's some times where I think to myself, have I really got this? Have I really got a mental health illness? Do I really, really struggle with these things? You know, and I've had people say to me, you are vulnerable, you are at high risk of suicide, you know. I think that's quite obvious that I am, because I've already tried to do it once before. So yeah, I do strongly suggest, I mean, this video is just to try and help people, and if you've got maybe a family member or a friend that you think maybe they're not their normal self, or you know, they might need a little bit of help with maybe a mental health illness, you know, I just want this video to try and help people. And again, with my symptoms and things like that, if you really feel that somebody around you may be having these symptoms, speak to somebody, speak to your GP, because your GP can refer you to the mental health services. And it is hard to come forward and ask for help, it really is. But once you have that help, there is help out there. I just want to say there is help out there, and they will help you. It might take you a while to get the help. There is, for borderline personality disorder, there is a therapy that I have just filled in a self-referral form for, and I've referred myself to it, and I'm just waiting to hear back from them to see if I can go for this therapy and see if this therapy will help. Because again, there was a time in my life where, just after I'd been diagnosed with it, I was very regularly having bad episodes, and I kept thinking to myself, I'm past the point of help. I'm past the point of any medication, any help, anything, like, you know. But when you come out of these episodes a week to 2 weeks after you've had these episodes, and you think, no, there is help out there, you can get help and you will get better. It will take time. You don't just get better overnight. It will definitely take a long time for you to get a lot better. But I truly believe that there's medication out there, like I've said, and there's therapies out there. But I do want this video to try and help somebody, and like I've said, if you need help, please go and get it. And if you've got any questions, please ask professionals. I'm not a professional, like I've said, this is my personal experience of this illness, so please go and ask a professional. But I hope you enjoyed this video. I really hope it helped. And yeah, for any more videos that you'd like to see, please comment down below. Please give it a big thumbs up. And if you haven't already, subscribe, and yeah, press the notification bell if you want to see more videos.